Team.
All right, we'll call us back into session.
Is there any way we can switch that camera for them because they're not going to be able to see us?
So, Jennifer?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is our first time with this new system with Zoom, so we're trying to get everybody set up.
Perfect. Well, we can hear you and see you just fine.
Okay. Well, we're back in session, so please introduce yourselves and let's go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My name is Jennifer Rourke. I am a regional coordinator with the Public Defense Commission. Jared Ricks, as you know, is the regional coordinator. I am the regional coordinator on the other half of the state. Jared had a personal, unexpected matter come up, and so I am here with Kathleen Elliott, our executive director, to give you all some updates from the PDC, discuss any public defense issues you have, and hopefully answer any questions. So to get started, we wanted to let you know that the PDC has rolled out a fairly extensive training program over the past few months. First and foremost, we have what is called the Montroy series. These are 1 to 2 credit in-depth courses that are taught by regional and national experts in fields important to indigent defense providers. Last week, we were honored to have John Rapping as a speaker and teacher. He is the founder of Gideon's Promise. It is known nationally as someone that
Whoops.
Hello? Actually, I think it is you guys.
Check that plug on the side there. It's that guy. That guy, all I did was push it in a little bit.
Yep, there it goes back in.
Yeah, okay. That guy's
I blocked you for just a second. Can you all still hear me?
We
Yep.
can now. Thank you.
Don't move, Nancy.
The second half of the first Friday is CLE put on mainly about PDC procedural issues, but procedural issues relevant just to indigent defense providers within the state of Idaho. For example, next week is the first Friday of August. We'll be presenting PDC data, what we're collecting, why we're asking for all this information, and what we're learning about public defense throughout the state. Finally, this last month, we had our very first PDC Squared. This is an immersive trial college, unlike any I've seen before. Attorneys that joined us were spending anywhere from, let's say, 8 to 15 hours a day with both the top attorneys in Idaho and top attorneys throughout the nation, working on a case problem and going over all stages of trial, things like opening statements, voir dire, closing statements. It went on for a full week. And what we're told by the first graduates of our PDC Squared or our trial college is a practice transforming class. Normally these trial colleges, there are a couple offered nationally and at least one that's offered in the state of Idaho, are extremely expensive, as you can imagine, for an immersion program that goes on for a week. The PDC is offering all of these high-quality trainings to defending attorneys at no cost to the counties and at no cost to the defending attorneys. Our hope, as you know, there is a 7 relevant credit requirement for defending attorneys here in the state of Idaho. We are hoping to provide all of those credits through high impact, high quality training at no additional cost to the county. Next, I hope that you all received and were able to review the financial assistance agreement that was sent out late last week. Did you all receive a copy and were you able to review that?
I haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it or noticed it. So,
Okay.
Was it-
looks like you-
Was it sent to the office of the commission or each individual commissioner?
It should have been sent to each commissioner, the clerk of the court, and I believe your institutional chief should have received it as well.
Do you know what date it was sent out on?
I believe Thursday of last week, is that correct?
Okay. I'll look for it right now just to make sure that we got it.
Perfect. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up a graphic for everyone to quickly to look at.
Okay, I haven't found it. I'm still looking. So. Yeah, okay, I found it.
Who's it from?
It's PDC office, fiscal year 2022, indigent defense financial assistance. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It was a joint email that comes through, so that's probably why it just says the Bannock County. So in your title headline.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we found it. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll just give you some highlights, and then obviously, once you're reviewing it and you have any follow-up questions, please let us know. We would be happy to answer any of those, but I understand you probably need some time to review it and digest it. The graphic that I have up on the screen right now just shows you what we're seeing through our data collection, trends on spending by the counties for public defense and PDC financial assistance. So if you see the green bars represent from 2016 to 2020, the aggregate county spending on public defense in the state of Idaho. As you'll see in the blue below, that is PDC relevant financial assistance. And so that's sort of an overview or the trends that we're seeing at the PDC as far as county spending and the relevant Public Defense Commission financial assistance. To give you just a couple concepts as you're reviewing that award letter, we received over $15 million worth of requests from the county and had little more than $10 million to distribute. So the commission and the subcommittee had to make some significant changes to those requests to be able to provide every county some financial assistance. One of the things they did is that they did not award any COLAs or merit increases for any workload positions. So almost every single county asked for, every single county that received workload assistance, many of them requested either a COLA or a merit increase on this position. There was not enough money to do so. The other thing the commission did is that it kept formula financial assistance at 15%. Though the rule previously had kept it at 15%, there is no longer that restriction. But the commission, to keep a steady level across all counties, this year again decided that they could do 15% of the local share through formula financial assistance. Finally, for workload assistance, what the rule says is that we'll take 3-year average in order to even out or lessen the impact of any dramatic changes in case numbers. We, before this year, did not have 3 years to average. This was the first year that we did have 3 years, and we did average those 3 years of workload to determine workload positions that could be funded. All that to say is that we understand that fiscal year 2020 was a strange year. We believe that likely fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2022 will also be completely off the charts as far as case numbers go. So we're hoping that this average methodology that we're using under the rules will help counties at least even some of those impacts or lessen the extremes that we're going to see over the COVID and post-COVID years. Again, if you have any questions about financial assistance once you review that letter, please reach out to any one of our team and we would be happy to help you out. Next, we wanted to talk about the annual review, as you know, came out this spring. I've reviewed that and what Jared put together, and we just have some questions on that. I understand from that you were implementing Legal Server as a relations database system. How is that implementation going, or are there any updates on that?
Right now, I don't believe we have any updates without having Dave Martinez here.
Okay.
And Dave is out for personal issues.
Are any of the defending attorneys getting close to their workload? Is anyone over their workload? Or are there any concerns about people getting too close to their workload before the end of the fiscal year?
The last time I looked, it didn't look like that there was anybody that was in major, how do I say this?
They weren't in trouble.
We're in trouble, or if there were that were approaching it, it didn't look like that they would be over it in a major way. Does that make sense? There might be one or two of them that were getting close, but they weren't. It didn't look like they would blow it over by like a huge percentage point. If anything, it might be by a percentage point or two, but not anything horrific. The question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go right ahead.
One of the recommendations in the report is that you folks maybe look at having a defending attorney out of custody arrangement. Do you know if that's something that has been implemented, or if there's a plan in place to go forward with that?
I don't off the top of our heads, not with having Dave here.
And then my final question, there's a defending attorney report that is evidently still missing from a Warren Weber. Have you been able to secure that report?
We'll have to look. I think he was the one that was probably had a medical issue. Is that the one that was in the hospital?
All right, thank you.
Oh, no, somebody. Okay, yeah, no, we'll need to. We'll track that down though.
We just have one final matter for you folks, and then we'll take any questions or discussions you'd like to discuss. As you know, we have been going through a rule-making process. We have public hearings coming up. We just learned last week that the new proposed rules are actually not going to be published in the administrative bulletin until September 1st. What that means effectively is that we have to take our public hearings that were scheduled for mid-August and just move them to mid-September. Once we have those final dates for you, we'll go ahead and make sure that you get notice of those so that you can join us, hopefully at the hearing, or at least get a written comment. But we wanted to let you know, as soon as we know, that if you have those hearings on your calendar for August, they will be due September. Just wanted to share this graphic with you because we know the rulemaking process can be a little confusing for everyone. So this sort of shows you where we are in the process. We had partial temporary rules adopted by the Commission in March. We had negotiated rulemaking meetings and comments in May. We took those comments and made certain revisions and then put proposed rules before the PDC, and they approved those in June. We are now here in this August-September timeframe for public hearings on those proposed rules. It's August/September. It looks like it's going to be the latter of September. Once we take those amendments and make any necessary changes, then we will put pending rules in front of the Commission for adoption. So I just wanted to share that as far as where we are in the rulemaking process. Those are all the updates we have for you today, but we would be happy to discuss anything you would like to talk about or answer any questions the Commission has.
I'd like to talk to you about conflict attorneys for a minute.
Yes.
We have several on staff or under contract. We lose them. It's getting very, very difficult to find attorneys that want to take a contract to do that. Is there anything that would be any reason why PDC would have to be against us, say, taking two public defense attorneys, giving them their own staff, and making them our own conflict attorneys on council outside of the public defense office?
So can I repeat what I think you're saying so I make sure that we're talking about the same thing? You're considering or exploring setting up an institutional conflict office? So you
Yes.
have an institutional primary office and you would then have another institutional conflict office?
Yes.
And Kathleen, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, that's absolutely up to the county's discretion. That is nothing that the PDC would have any type of objection to. There are counties in your region that do just that, and maybe a resource for you folks to talk to of how they did it lessons learned and those types of things. But that is certainly a system that you are not alone in exploring at this point, and a system that is in place in other counties.
Do you have a county that maybe executes it very well that we should talk to? Is there a county that comes to, what's that?
Sorry. So the only county that has a true institutional office is Bonneville, so in your region. Twin Falls has done a situation where they have first tier, second, but their contract, but they're kind of an individualized set of offices. Jennifer, can you think of others?
Not the exact institutional model. Kootenai County does an administrator model, which is an interesting model that I think actually is working really quite well for them. So if you were looking at different options, the folks over at Kootenai County, Scott Knox would be a good resource for an administrator type, but that's still under contract, it's not an institutional
Okay.
office.
Well, and like I said, we're still looking at things. The commission, we haven't formally made a decision or had, but that's one of the things that we're looking at because, like I said, the problem in Pocatello, we don't have enough attorneys that are even applying to even want to go under contract with us. That's simply the problem now, is there's enough other work, there's enough other money to go other places to do that. And so the only, kind of the big one that we're looking at is creating that institutional conflict office and you'd still have to have conflict attorneys under contract, I believe, when those conflicts went to a larger extent, but that at least would help us maybe get some of them under a better understanding of numbers and what's going on with conflicts. Because the biggest problem we have is you'll have 1 week where it doesn't seem like it's too bad, and then the next week, for some odd reason, it might just be one particular conflict attorney just gets absolutely land blasted. And there's no way to maybe help the guys that are on conflict to help them have people where they're not the only ones that are just getting burdened down with it. So
We encourage you to reach out, if we can facilitate meetings with other counties in any way and add to that, we are so happy to do that. It is, as Jennifer said, a statewide issue, many are looking at it, and frankly, it's a national issue right now.
okay, that's all I had.
There we go.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and the information today.
Thank you so much. Again, once you've received or reviewed that financial assistance agreement, if anyone has any questions, or if you ever have any questions on anything generally, our entire crew is here to answer any questions or to talk through any issues with you. And we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and being so flexible and allowing Kathleen and I to substitute in for Jared today. So thank you so much.
Well, we wish him the best in whatever his concerns are, and thank you very much.
We'll pass that along. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Is there any way we can switch the YouTube camera from that one to this one? The big one?
You'd rather have the YouTube camera?
Well,
Well, can we use that
or
one
not
for our
YouTube, but on
call?
Zoom to zoom that, because that one we're like, itty bitty.
Yeah, so the reason we didn't do that in this one was because the last time it got left running and you guys weren't sure if it was out of executive session. So
Okay.
it's absolutely doable, it's just a user.
We just have to be very
Gotta make
careful.
sure it gets shut off.
Okay.
That
And
was
I'm
the
o-
biggest reason.
yeah, and I'm okay
Christy
with
and I
that.
discussed
Yeah.
that, and I said, do you want to just use this one? And we thought, yeah, but absolutely we can.
I just, yeah.
I just want to make sure it doesn't get left running.
Okay. Yeah, just watching that, it's like,
It is kind of small,
yeah.
but there's also no audio feed on that one.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Adam.
Hello, Adam McKinney, Chief Technical Officer. Today I am just seeking approval or guidance on a generator that was purchased in '96 with 911 funds. It's currently at the city of Chubbuck. There's some pictures in the packet. I went out and just looked at it. The generator is fully functional and it works. They would just like to either be able to give it back to us and we would have to arrange for pickup of it, or they would like to dispose of it. They are retrofitting that building. They're going to build a newer generator at the city's expense, so there's no need for this one. They did mention it is in fully working order though, so if we would like it back, we would have to arrange somehow to get it and bring it here. If not, they would be happy to just dispose of it. So,
If they dispose of it, are they going to like put it to auction or sell it?
oh, actually, I guess that's a good question. I did not ask that. They had asked if they were discussing disposing of it, not sending it to auction. That was why we wanted guidance if that was the case. If they wanted to sell it, I would assume we'd want to get it and bring it back and do that on our own.
Or even if they scrap it, if they're gonna get money off of it.
The funds have to come back to
911 paid
them.
for it, if it's 911 gets
Okay,
it.
yeah, that would make total sense, and I can clarify that with Chief Giberson, I don't think that's an issue. His big issue is that they need a larger one. They've already got one that powers portion of the building, this one powers just the 911 dispatch center. The new one will replace both of those with one that powers the entire building. So I can clarify that with him on.
Well, if it's functional, I don't want to just throw it away.
It is functional, it has been serviced monthly, as long as it's been there, it is usable. We would just have to arrange somehow to get it and bring it to the county.
Is there any place that you guys could utilize it?
I don't know if we would need it, we've dealt with you already, but like you're saying, we could easily go pick it up and put it on the off.
Yes, I do. Just go pick it up and have them disconnect it, and then we just go pick it up and take it to auction. Unless you need it like out the landfill.
Well, honestly, I.
You have a power
I think
generator
We
landfill,
need
don't
to put it out to any government entity that would have the ability to use it.
In this-
I mean, even in some of the smaller cities
Yeah.
that we could utilize it for. I mean,
Yeah.
with today's,
Because you're gonna use it for emergency situations. I mean, that's what whether it be Inca, McCammon, or any of those. I mean, if power goes out, you still need to have some of those facilities function.
the lift stations with some of these sewers and stuff.
Yeah.
So go get it. I think
Yeah,
that's-
I'll coordinate with them and tell them that we want to recuperate it when it's ready to be decommissioned, and we'll schedule somebody to pick it up. Cool, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, discussion. Commissioner Huff. Mr. Parrish, will you come up?
All right, the purpose of this discussion is to decide if we would like to participate in some grants that the state will have available at the end of the year. And when I saw the opportunity for those grants, I reached out to Mr. Parrish in direct communication to offer up their advice as to where we would, not only how we participate, but where, what areas of the county we could use this infrastructure for broadband communication. And so Mr. Parrish came up with 3/4 projects that are listed on the handout that I gave you: the Buckskin project, the old Highway 91 project, and the Virginia project. Essentially, that would allow us to create fiber optic connections all the way from Buckskin to just about Virginia. And the maps I gave you show you what the Buckskin project would look like.
Yeah, that's what I looked at. No, I
Okay.
left mine, but I looked at it already.
Sarah, do you
Cool.
want one to look at? I've got a second copy here if you want to get your copy.
Oh, I'm good. I was looking at it downstairs, but I just left mine downstairs. I just want to make sure I was okay. That's cool. The Buckskin one, you probably would have a lot of customers and houses and people of that area, I'm assuming?
Yep, there's actually, do you have these? Do you have these?
I did not hand those out. I did not have
These
those.
have, I can tell you home counts for those areas too.
You said on the information you gave me, 300 approximate locations for the Buckskin project, 133 for the old highway project, and roughly 88 locations. I don't know, does that equate to home count?
Yeah, so those are our rooftop counts, these are not super in-depth. If we do something in the future and you wanted more, we can go more in-depth, but yeah, that's basically houses, rooftops, trying to figure out what's a house and what's a garage and but
Yeah.
that's pretty close to what you're gonna have for home counts up in those areas.
And I asked Mr. Parrish to come talk about the grant that the state has. We were a little slow. They had $10 million that was needed to be submitted by the end of this month, which we're not gonna make that one, but the next thing, if you wouldn't mind talking about that, Sam.
Sure. So first off, I apologize for the way I'm dressed. The chairman and commissioners, when I was dressing this morning, all I could think of was the And hat. I didn't think about the fact that was coming to me with you guys, so I apologize. I can give you as much information or as little as you want about the Idaho Broadband Grant Program. I'll give you a brief synopsis, and if you want to ask questions, I can try to answer them. Let you know a little bit about it. So, last year, the feds obviously started printing money. They gave a bunch to the state. The governor originally wanted to make $100 million available for broadband projects throughout the state. It became pretty apparent pretty quickly that building $100 million worth of broadband projects in a 5-month window was just impossible, couldn't be done. So they cut that number down to $50 million. They awarded $50 million in projects. About $38 million of it got built and completed, including Aramo. We got done last year here in Bannock County. Aramo is 100% fiber available now in that community. This year they wanted to double down on that. So they thought they'd lose the $10 million they didn't use. Most of us didn't think that would happen. They didn't. The feds wanted to keep it. They said you have to use it for this purpose. They rolled the $10 million over. That's the $10 million that Commissioner Huff was just discussing. That has not quite been awarded, but it's on the very edge of having been awarded at this point. And then the governor asked for, I think, $50 million, ended up getting $35 million appropriated out for Idaho Broadband Grant Program. So they put together a broadband advisory board, put together to award the $10 million, and then to put together structure for how the following $35 million would be used. They have gotten nowhere on the structure of what it's going to look like, but they have done the first $10 million portion. They've whittled that down to about $12 million in projects, and now they have to whittle that down to the last couple. Those are facts. Conjecture. It appears that they're going to try pretty hard to break that $35 million up into fairly equal distribution across the 7 districts in the state. That's what they did with $10 million. It's not what they did last year, mostly because some of the districts didn't get their stuff together and didn't get it in. But it looks like they're going to try to break that up into fairly equal pieces of the pie. Looks like they're going to first target unserved areas. So unserved means anywhere that cannot get any service at 25 by 3, 25 meg down, 3 meg up. There's a challenge process that people.
Is that by like line, or is that by signal? So like a satellite, anybody can get a satellite.
So no, has to be terrestrial based service.
Okay.
So no satellites in the sky, no low Earth orbit stuff can qualify. We don't know this 100% yet, but it appears that they're going to say all of that is out. Wireline services and what we call WIS, wireless towers on mountains or on water tanks, those would qualify for service. Currently the number they're using is 25 by 3. That's because that's the federal determination of what broadband is. It looks like, I know what the Department of Commerce is pushing for, and it looks like they'll probably do this for the structure, but they're going to want 100 by 10. Instead of 25 down, 3 up, they want, for them to qualify for the broadband grant fund, they'll provide 100 down by 10 up, which is a much better. Wireless can be a good solution as long as it's good wireless. Yeah. And that would help make sure that some of the garage store places aren't getting funds still because they doesn't meet the needs and demand. So looks like they're gonna push for unserved, and the first 10 million, every unserved project in the state was just almost blanket approved. Now, the blanket put into the final hopper, right? So finding unserved areas, which most of these are somewhere in the borderline between unserved and underserved, these 4 areas that we've isolated. There are wireless providers that serve some of these areas to varying quality. Now that said, I'm not knocking on the wireless, I'm not walking the wireless guys. The service in Virginia is now 100 times better than it was 5 years ago, and that's all because of the wireless fence, right? They provide a service that couldn't be provided before. But as you're moving forward, trying to, plan for future growth, they are trying to push for high-speed broadband instead of just basic broadband. So looks like they're gonna break 35 million up fairly evenly between the 7, or try to, the 7 districts, which is $5 million, and I can do that math. They're going to try to find unserved areas, and then they will move to underserved areas. I don't think that the 35 million, you'll get very much of that goes to underserved areas yet. Because you've got enough unserved areas in areas similar to this that are borderline between, so like Cup River, for example, outside of Preston, or 8 Mile outside of Soda Springs. They're very similar in nature that there are wireless providers, they do a decent job. You can get a good 10x1, maybe you can get a 25x3 occasionally. So those fit somewhere between and underserved areas. All of that said, Bannock County will not be getting any funds on this first 10 million, so that might look good for the next round of you being maybe put above Franklin County, that's hopefully going to get Weston approved. So there's a basic underline of the thing. I'll also say the numbers and the stuff here would hopefully be able to be done cheaper with some more digging and some more investigation of what is soil quality like coming over the top of Buckskin. We're going to run into rock. We're going to run into cobble. What is it going to look like? So numbers might come down and home rates are going to go up because people are building like crazy. But there's a kind of a baseline information I can tell you about the grant process. I can tell you more details about why it's the way it is, or I can shut my mouth.
So what's a match? What do we look at as a match?
For matching funds? So it depends what you want, right? So the ones that we're doing right now, that we have in the hopper for the 10 million, working with Franklin County, working with Bear Lake County on some projects. We're working with Jefferson County on a project. We're matching by providing all of the fiber in the ground.
In matching, I'm talking, what's
What's the county responsibility?
So on the grant, there is no requirement for match funds. You can, and it may or may not make a difference. There's 9 members of the board. Some of them feel one way, some of them feel another way. And I imagine if you have 2 projects that are very similar, if you're comparing Buckskin to Cub River and the county is saying, well, we're going to kick in $500,000, I imagine that would probably make some difference in their mind. But there isn't, and I will tell you on it was $53 million in applications for the 10 million this time. It was 127 last year for the 35 million. Almost no match. We're people that work with us. We're about the only place that has any match. Why? Because it doesn't ask for it. So they're not looking to give away their money. So that was a long-winded answer for
Well, so on all 3 of these projects, and I think all 3 of them, when I was reading that down, I think all of them would definitely be beneficial to Bannock County. What's the likelihood of one or all?
Well, that's a good question. They're all very legitimate. Looking at what other things have been approved around the state, they could take all 50 million and dump it into Region 2 and not fix the problem if they're right. Those steep mountain areas up there, they cost a ton. They're going to take 10 years of investment over a 50 million a year to cover that. They don't appear to want to do that at this point. They want to be more fair across the districts. You're going to get, District 5 is going to get $3 to $6 million, it looks like. These are very fair. I know what there is in District 5, probably better than anybody, what's available out there. These are as legitimate as any of them. I don't know how to give you a better answer than that, so.
Well, just, as I looked at it, like your Buckskin project's 4.1 million, and that's a fairly large project. It looks like it makes sense to break it up maybe into an A and a B, or you know, or do you try to put it, and what I'm saying is because I would say, I don't see why you wouldn't support, or we wouldn't support and push to get all three of these projects in. I mean, I see the benefit for the Virginia project, the old highway project. I see the benefit of the Buckskin project, knowing of just how many people are building houses up there. And that's
The terrain there.
yeah, and the wireless up there, like you said, it's amazing. We used to live up there. I have a brother that lives up there, and one neighbor, and they live 200 feet apart, will have a 25x3 wireless with no problem, and the other one will be able to maybe get some Morse code. I mean, and it's just literally by how close you are to the mountain and what's going on, and so, and like I said, that's that whole canyon area pushing up, working that way.
So I will tell you what Director Keeley told me, on a very similar question when I was trying to answer, so what do we submit? There's 40 things down there, you know, what do we submit? He said, please submit everything you can.
Okay.
The idea being, we want the governor and the elected officials to see what there is.
What the need is.
Yeah, they don't want them to think, oh, hey, if we come up there with only $120 million asked for last year between all these projects, over 3 years, we should have everything taken care of. They want to know what's there. So what I would say is, put them all in. And if there's anywhere else you think of that you're aware of and we should look at, then we should look at those two.
What about lava?
Out by Lava, we could do, there's some stuff up around Lava, yes, like Old Highway, yes, so there's some stuff around Lava. We can look
I
at.
was thinking of our radios, our police, where they had the toughest time. I mean, it's up Buckskin, it's up in areas,
Yeah.
I mean, every place that you've got,
It's on those,
Buckskin,
yeah.
Rapid Creek, they have a very tough time getting communication there. Up out of Lava in certain areas, they have a very tough time getting communication. In the middle of the valley in Virginia, we don't have that same problem. But I understand that, you know, it just,
So these projects we're looking at are all fiber to the premise projects. You don't have to do, your grant, and this steps out of, but your grant doesn't have to be that either. It could be to 6 strategic locations for the sheriff's department, right? It could be to city parks, which you don't have, but city parks or county facilities to set up wireless access points for kids to get on and do their homework, right? So when it comes to public-private partnerships, which is all the buzz, right? There's multiple ways that you can do it fiber to the premise, or you can say, look, let's find a way to build a county structure that serves these needs that then can be built off of by providers later, right? So we come in and say, look, we want to connect these 6 county facilities for whatever the reason is. Okay, we want a partner, so the prior partners who will come in, who will build it for whatever the grant portion is. We're going to also make some commitment to us that they will build off of that to connect the things around it. So this grant doesn't have to be for fiber to the premise. They seem to like that because the point of it is to get it to unserved and underserved. But there was last year and there will be some this year that are actually, Ryrie's doing one that's actually getting service to 3 locations in their place. Carrie's doing one that's building to 3 or 4 locations within the city. But then hopefully somebody will build off of it.
Well, and looking, going over the top to Buckskin to Income, you're also talking, you're then not that far to start going up Green Canyon, Pidcock Road, where all those big developments are.
I could get you some stuff on Green Mountain, Green Canyon also, if you want to connect with that.
I mean, because that's going to be your next, I mean, that's another, I don't see why we wouldn't just submit all 3 of these projects that are sitting in front of us right now. I mean, I don't. I'd put them in and hopefully you'd get one approved. I mean, I'm a little partial, probably more partial to the Buckskin area because I used to live up there and I know how kind of a pain in the butt it is to do anything up there.
And that was just the discussion today to see if we had interest in applying, knowing that would involve your department with the grant and matching that and things of that nature, but.
What all does it take to apply for it? I mean, how much work is it going to be? What are we going to have to do?
Nancy's not even looking over here.
She's like, I'm not looking at you all. Well,
it will be as difficult, or I can tell you, it'll be as different. I've been involved with 15 applications now. It will be as, assuming they don't make it more difficult, it will be as simple or as hard as you want it to be. It's really simple. It's designed. When they set this grant up, they set it up so that the city clerk in Aramo can do it.
Is it reimbursement?
Yes, reimbursement. So it's tough. So one of the reasons people,
You have to budget for it.
you'd have to, you know, you can't
Budgeting you have to
single
anyway.
source that
You have to
probably.
have the cash
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
So, which, depending on the project you're looking at, may matter, may not. It's just cash flow.
Could you do cash flow out of it, out of the, like our ARPA funds that are sitting there, and then they reimburse those funds once we,
Because ARPA would
Well,
love that.
Ultimately, what happens is we've got a big pool of money
Mhm.
that we just, as long as we can keep paying our bills, we're fine.
Yeah.
But if you do $10 million worth of grants, depending on the time frame and how fast they are in reimbursing it,
Yeah.
we just need to be able to have that cash flow. That's fine.
I'm gonna argue with you. We don't have a big pool of money. We have some money. We're on the
Sorry.
record. We don't have a
Ron?
big pool of
Ron?
money
No pools of
anywhere.
I just meant we have a pool of money that we would have to be able
We have a
to
kiddie pool
front.
of money. Kyle's getting excited.
When
We
you're,
don't want him to hear that.
I know.
when
already
you're
looked at
doing
his
your
budget.
RFP, and when you're out searching for, because you're gonna, some of the smaller, you want to single source it, great, that'd be awesome for us, but you probably need to do some, you may not want to single source it, which is a little bit different. But you can ask for that, you can ask for it if you want to, in your RFP, right? All of the projects that we have worked on, this will be, there's no wood up here, there's hopefully 11 projects in 2 years. We're from the money. We're coming in saying, I know that you, Aramo, cannot come up with $800,000. We'll come up with it. We'll carry it. You'll have to reimburse us on the back end. Now, it's easier when you have some more things available to you. But that is something you could ask for within your RFP is, okay, what are you going to match as the private partner? Can you front any of this money as a private partner? Can you, so there are ways to get help with that.
Okay. Well, I think it's a discussion that we need to look at the grants and
you need to find out when's the next
Move forward.
due date.
Do you know when that will come open for those applications?
They're supposed to meet on Wednesday, hopefully finalize first 10 million, which then means that hopefully a week from now, they're meeting to set up the structure. My guess is that they will have those open by like October for grants to go in.
I think we just need to start getting ready.
They want to get them, I know they want to get them all awarded before the year ends so they can give people all 12 months of next year to build them.
Yeah.
Because that is to keep us on 5-month spans, which ends up costing everybody a bunch of money because then we have to build.
And during the winter time, you're trying to dig and move snow and through areas that are underserved that probably don't have good roads and
we
stuff.
also, I know Association of Counties, Sarah, I know she's been involved with this quite a bit. So as a resource, right there too.
I don't think it's a bad idea to maybe take take a week or two or whatever we need to do to come back under the work session on this. We need to probably go forward because, like I said, anything like this that we can get funds to help pay for these kind of infrastructure projects, we need to be applying for.
We'll most likely see Sarah in.
I'll see her next week.
We'll see her at Clerk and Commission.
Yeah, I'll see her before that.
Clerk and Recorder's Conference in 2 weeks. So we can talk to her then too,
Yeah.
and see what. From the clerk's
Yeah.
standpoint.
I think definitely we need to get the answers and move forward.
Okay.
Well, somebody needs this money on this side of the state. Not everybody can.
Yep.
That's right.
Well, and like I said, the biggest thing for a lot of these houses being built is some of this infrastructure, and if we can get it done, might as well get it done.
If I can be of use or a resource.
Yes.
I'll have my contact, so feel free to reach out.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Christie.
First item I have for the commission is budget to actual reports for quarter ending in June. I apologize for the delay in getting those to you. We had two balancing issues and budget didn't help. A quick summary on revenues. The revenue report that you guys have is on a cash basis. So any of those that we do are not included on this report. Better document to look at is that REMS that we do at budget time. What I can tell you is that we're online to meet budget projection. once I have an opportunity to complete my revis for June's numbers, then I'll have a better idea if we're going to exceed and what we're going to exceed. So I can provide that later.
Okay.
But we are in line to meet revenue, so that's the policy. Any questions on revenue?
I don't.
I'm good.
On the expenditure report, a couple highlights. At this point, we should be at least well, if we're more than 75% spent, because we're that far into the year, then that's when our office starts looking and monitoring the department spending a little bit closer. The exception to that are our seasonal departments, road and bridge, fair, event center, noxious and mosquito, because most of their expenditures start happening about now. So they're normally going to be a lot lower than the 75%. We do have the ambulance district that is about 77%, but that's mostly contractual. Yeah, mostly contractual. So we're okay there. Plus, I looked at July's AB, and it's only going up by the next payment. So ambulance is good to go. The fair district is 100% spent, but that's a one-time expenditure for our contribution towards the Blackfoot Fair. And then liability insurance is all spent, but that's quarterly premiums, and that's to be expected this time of year. 911, we talked about last week. They are at budget. They've spent their budget, but we did do a reallocation that you guys signed Thursday, that you signed Tuesday. That gave them another $51,000. We also have anticipating that we're going to be opening the budget for $21,000 or $24,000. So they're in much better shape. And then I'll continue to monitor them through the rest of the year to see if we're going to need to give them any more funds. Juvenile detention is at 78%, but when I pulled July's, they're now at 83%, which is where they should be for the end of July, so they haven't spent any additional money. Waterways, we have $9,200 that will be spent next week. You guys have a claim today, and we need a total of about $25,000 that we'll have spent. I talked to Scott, who thinks that project that you approved for the reservoir at the wellness complex, we'll take that, both of that money.
Cool.
So, basically everybody looks really good as far as their spending, and they are going to maintain what they've got for the 40s.
Any concerns up at the event center or the wellness complex?
No, they're actually under budget. I talked to Scott a little bit earlier today, and he's got a work session set for next week that we're going to talk about some options. His is, again, seasonally spending, and they're just starting to do a lot with expenditures. But he looks good. Within the June report that you have, he was only at 40%. I don't think he's going to spend his entire budget. So.
Just hoping, looking, wanting.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of needs there.
There is, and that's part of what the work session next week will do for. He's got a couple items that he wants to bring before you to update some equipment that might need it, and to make some purchases that will save us in the long run. So, any questions on that?
No.
Okay. The next item is the same-day mail policy.
Let's go ahead and let them make a motion on that one, just because.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve or accept the quarterly report under Idaho Code 311611 from the comptroller, Christy Prosser.
Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item is the same-day meal policy. Short and sweet. This will be, this is, again, just a work session to talk about what you'd like to see. We'll amend our accounting policies and procedures, which kind of gives the guidelines. Ultimately, the commission approves that policy, but it just kind of fits within that policy. What I've proposed is just, same-day meals may be approved if travel is, and I just threw in I just threw in 200 miles one way, or if the duration of the travel is greater than 6 hours. To receive reimbursement, itemized receipts must be turned in with the meal reimbursement form, with costs to be kept in alignment with the per diem rates for the area of travel. Please remember to turn in the business purpose of the travel, location of the travel, and those in attendance. If any supporting documents can be provided as backup documentation, please attach. So this is just a rough draft. I did 6 hours, just simply because if you're gone 4 hours, if you're gone at 8 o'clock, you come home at noon, does that need a meal? And I left maybe just to leave the door open.
Yeah.
Because some may qualify, some may not. This is just a starting point. So, thoughts?
I think we're pretty close. I'm just mentally trying to calculate 200 miles or 6 hours, like if we go to Idaho Falls for meetings, and it's 4 hours of meetings, so we get there, meetings start at 9, and we're done at 1. All right, we're gonna meet 200, we don't meet the 6 hours, but, I don't know if that's okay or not.
There's so many different scenarios you could run. So you could run that scenario, you could run, sheriff's office will go down to Salt Lake and pick up vehicles.
No, that's one I was kind of looking at. It's 150 miles, but if you run into Salt Lake, you do anything in between, you'd be maybe not 6 hours, but right close.
Right.
I think it's about the same with Twin.
Well, and then the whole thing is
Because
then we
it's one
encourage,
way, I guess.
Right.
then you encourage slower driving than, I mean, honestly, and the whole thing is we want to be flexible, but you want to have guidelines, but you want to be in reason. I mean, what are you doing? I think it's an either or, but not a both. I think it's hey, if you drive over let's see, 8 times, you do 2 hours, that's 4 hours drive time. So if you do 3 and 3, so 240 miles is technically 3 hours of drive time. So you'd have to drive over 240 miles to drive for 6 hours total. 3 hours down and 3 hours back. Or you would have to spend, 2 hours, which is 160 down, an hour there, and 2 hours back is 5 hours, so you're not quite there. And so that's what I say is you could be doing a bunch of stuff where you're still determining, I don't know how you'd word it, is a reasonable.
I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. Would you like me to send this to some departments
Yeah.
and get input?
Get some
and
feedback.
See what they would like to see?
What do they normally see? Because like us, like Jeff said, yeah, we might just go to Idaho Falls for a couple meetings, but by the time you leave here at 8 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time you're leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning, you get up there by 8, you're having meetings until noon, and then you're stopping, or then you're doing whatever else you're doing, and then you're driving back. You hit your 6 hours, so are you eating on the backside coming back? Are you eating up there, or what are you doing? Are you trying to eat and drive?
Who do you want me to send this to? I can send it to the sheriff.
Send it to all department heads,
Okay.
I would say,
And
elected
elected
officials and department heads. We have a department head meeting next Tuesday. We can put this on our agenda. With our department.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a question for.
I would even think we'd go like 150 miles to hit that edge of Salt Lake, and I would say 5 hours.
That's where I was kind of at myself.
If you're gonna be gone more than 5 hours, great, you can get something.
Well, by state law, basically, if somebody works, they gotta have lunch between the 3 hours and the 5 hours. You gotta allow them to have the
Right.
opportunity to eat. And if they're on county business out of the area, why wouldn't we provide the opportunity for them to?
Okay. So do you want me to change it to the 150 miles and?
Change it to 150 and 5 and send that out.
Okay, and see how they like that?
Yeah, let's
Okay,
do that.
get some feedback. Okay, then I'll bring it back. I did send this to Ryan, and we talked about it, and he had reviewed Twin Falls and the city of Pocatello. They really didn't have anything, so he was supportive of this flag.
Okay. Well, it was a good swag.
So, okay, so that's that. I will take that back and then bring it back to another work session. The last item I have is an update on low rent, low taxes, and
We need to go into executive session.
Yeah, depending on what you're talking about. This is Matt. He came to sit in for Brian today, and he's gonna make sure everybody stays busy.
Okay.
But yeah,
Thanks,
we
Matt.
should probably start out.
And this is the one that you requested as an
Uh,
executive session? So they'd know what we were having an
Yeah.
executive session about?
Well, there'll be another one on Tuesday. I decided it didn't fit within the guide, within what we have down in there with that, so there'll be another one with
So please let me know what you're having an executive session about, or I won't put it on the agenda.
Yeah, well, I talked to Christie and we decided not to do it.
Okay. I came up yesterday to find you and couldn't find you to talk about it.
Yeah, so we get that request.
But the only one that puts stuff on our agenda that we keep on our agenda is one of us three. I didn't know what you was wanting to talk about at all.
Yeah, I pulled it back, my
Okay.
request.
So,
Yeah, we need to. Let's go in there to talk about it.
all right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter into Idaho, executive session under Idaho Code 74206, 1 prim F, potential actual action following adjournment of the executive session.
Commissioner Covey?
Yes.
Commissioner Huff?
Yes.
Commissioner